The Scandinavian defense begins after white plays the move e4. If you're looking for something with the queen pawn, it's time to click away. No, please don't click away, then my engagement rate goes down. So e4, and black responds with d5. More traditionally, e5 is kind of considered classical. Then there's the French defense, the Sicilian. The Scandinavian defense forces the issue right away, and one of the reasons it's really good for beginners and intermediate players looking to attack with the black pieces is that white is already going to be confused. They're like, wait a minute, I already have to make a decision. So obviously, first we're going to look at pawn takes d5, because that is how the opening works. Decisions have to be made move by move. If white just leaves the pawn there, you will take it, and then we'll look at that stuff. So takes, and now even here black has a few options. Black can play knight to f6 before taking back. Black can play c6, that's known as the Kloosterbauer gambit. But queen takes d5 is kind of the go-to. Now, we are going to look at the classical move knight c3. Well, it's bad. I mean, I thought it's bad to bring out the queen. Yes and no. If you put the queen to safety forever, it's going to be fine. If you play queen here and lose your queen 3 different ways, that is why you're really taught to safeguard your queen, because everyone's afraid you're going to lose it, but it's like sending your kids out on the public transportation. Ultimately, you know, they're going to have to learn someday, right? So the queen has to be trusted. First, we're going to look at this, then we're going to look at knight to f3, and then we'll kind of look at everything else. So knight to c3. Here there are 3 ways to play the Scandinavian defense. The most common is to rotate the queen over to a5. That puts the queen on the edge of the board, and then you can develop the rest of your pieces accordingly. The other way is to bring it all the way home. International master John Bartholomew, famous for many chess openings, not even chess openings, just instructive chess content, likes to bring his queen all the way back. And then there's queen to d6 as well. First, I'm going to look at primarily moving the queen out to the edge of the board. If you move the queen out to the edge of the board, the game might proceed as follows. White should play d4. Knight and this pawn out is the best way for white to play this position. If white plays this position in any other way, it's already a little bit suboptimal, just so you know. So d4, and now we develop our knight to f6. We are mostly going to be castling short side. So our development will look like this. We need to develop our light squared bishop, then we need to play e6. Why? Why can't we just play e6? Because then we block this bishop in. Do you see how that works? So this bishop needs to come out to one of these 2 squares. We will play e6, and then we will develop this bishop and castle. Now, if at any point our queen is targeted, we always have a very useful move, pawn to c6. In fact, it's so useful some people even play it now, because what c6 does is it allows you to bring the queen back to c7. But I said more often than not we castle short. There are positions where, for example, if white does not occupy the center with the pawn, we can very quickly castle queenside. That would turn the position into something a little bit more aggressive. That might look something like this. If the kings are castled on opposite sides, it means we're going to have a war, because we can launch our pawns at their king, and they can launch their pawns at our king, and our queen first. So castling on the same side leads to a bit more of a peaceful game, whereas the opposite side castling is, I mean, it would lead to something, it's more risk, more reward, but obviously you might lose. And you say, well, what's the difference? Why can't I play this one way all the time, Levy? Why do I have to choose depending on how my opponent plays? Well, here's the thing. If the opponent plays d4, you can't put your knight out. Why not? Because they're going to attack it. That's how chess works. Move by move, the game goes into its own unique territory. So depending on how white sets up, that is how you are going to set up. You put your queen out to the side, and then knight f3, you develop your bishop, right? I've included the move h3, for example, with the bishop coming back here, but, you know, for example, if even without h3, or with h3, let's say white just plays something like bishop to e2 to get out of getting pinned, you can play, for instance, knight to c6 is an option to try to castle queenside in this position, because if you get attacked, you have this. Right, so you can already try to castle queenside, or you can play e6, they can castle, you'll play bishop to e7, for example. Maybe they're going to try to come after your queen. We already know what to do if that happens. We play c6, and then if, let's say, white plays rook e1, this is the kind of a structure that you get with the Scandinavian. When you've castled on the same side in the Scandinavian defense, your game is going to be a lot slower. You're going to be looking for a pawn break in the center. You're going to be looking to put your rook on d8. this rook will go to c8 when the knight develops, because this is where the board is going to open up. If the d and the c pawn disappear, you want your rooks on these open lines. So the f rook to d8, this rook to c8. This doesn't have to trade. That's the other thing. If h3, maybe you take, but to be honest, you could bring it back. You're completely fine. So that is really, in a nutshell, in about, I don't know, 5.5. What's the time of the video? 5 minutes and 42 seconds. That literally is the theory of the Queen A5 Scandinavian.